It was a regular afternoon, just like any other, but what happened next completely shattered the reality I thought I knew. I had always felt safe in my room, a space that was supposed to be my sanctuary from everything outside. But that day, everything changed. My stepfather, the man who had been part of my life for as long as I could remember, walked into my room, and what happened next left me speechless. For years, I had tried to build a relationship with him, tried to accept him into my life as more than just my mom's partner. But something had always felt off, like a crack in a foundation I couldn't quite place. We weren't close, but I never imagined the depth of what was happening behind closed doors. I didn't know it then, but that moment would be the turning point, when everything I thought I understood about my family and my stepfather would unravel. It started innocently enough. He knocked on my door, like he always did, but something was different about this time. His usual tone, the way he would speak to me, felt more urgent, more deliberate. When I said come in, expecting a simple conversation or him asking about dinner, I never could have prepared myself for what happened next. He entered my room with something in his hand, something that immediately made me feel uncomfortable. It wasn't the object itself, but the way he carried it, as if it was something important, something I wasn't supposed to see. His eyes avoided mine as he walked in, almost as if he was hiding something, and I couldn't understand why. My heart began to race, not because of what was in his hands, but because of the way he was acting. There was a tension in the air, and I could feel it, the kind that makes you question everything around you. I never imagined I'd be in this situation with him. I didn't know what to do, how to react, or what this strange moment was leading to. What happened next didn't just change how I saw him, it changed how I saw everything I thought I knew about my family. It was as if a door had opened to a reality I wasn't ready to face. The secrets that had been hidden for so long were slowly starting to surface. I wanted to confront him, but I didn't know how. I didn't know if I was ready for the truth, and more than anything, I didn't know if I could ever look at him the same way again. This moment, this single event, would set off a chain of actions that no one could have predicted. As the tension hung in the room, I had to make a decision. Would I confront him, ask the questions that had been burning in my mind, or would I just let it all go, not knowing where it would lead? Whatever happened, I knew one thing for sure, it wouldn't be easy to ignore. It wouldn't be something I could just brush off. What happened next was far beyond my expectations, and what I uncovered after that moment would leave me questioning everything about my family. Stay tuned to find out the shocking truth, and remember, what you see on the surface isn't always what it seems. I couldn't stop staring at him. My stepfather stood there in the doorway like he didn't quite know what to say, or maybe he was just trying to figure out how to say it. That silence, it stretched on forever. And I could feel something shift in the air. I kept glancing at what he was holding, hoping for a clue, something to help me understand what was going on. It looked like a thick envelope, sealed tight. Not something you'd usually carry around casually. And definitely not something you'd just walk into someone's room with uninvited. He finally looked at me, and for a split second, I saw it, guilt. That look that flashes across someone's face when they know they're doing something they shouldn't. I didn't know what to say. I opened my mouth, then closed it again. Part of me wanted to scream, to ask what was going on. But the other part? It was frozen. I'd never seen him act like this. And deep down, I think I knew this wasn't just about an envelope. This was about something bigger. To really understand what made this moment so strange, you'd have to know what our house was like. From the outside, it looked like everything was fine. My mom always kept things together. She worked full-time, kept the house spotless, cooked dinner every night. She was the type who smiled through the stress. My stepdad, on the other hand, was more distant. He was polite, helpful when he wanted to be, but never really involved. He didn't come to school events or family dinners unless my mom made him. We coexisted more than we connected. There were times when I caught weird glances between him and my mom. Tension. I'd ask her if everything was okay, and she'd brush it off with a quick "just tired." But I noticed things. Little things. The way he'd go outside to take calls late at night. The way his smile disappeared the second my mom turned her back. I started to feel like I was living in a house full of unanswered questions. And now here he was, standing in my room with this sealed envelope and a look on his face like he'd just seen a ghost. He cleared his throat and said something I barely caught, something like, "You weren't supposed to see this yet." That sentence alone sent chills down my spine. What did he mean by yet? What was he planning? And why was I suddenly involved? He took a step forward and held out the envelope, like he wanted me to take it. I didn't move. I just kept staring at it. Every part of me was screaming not to touch it. I didn't know what was inside, but I could tell it was important. Maybe dangerous. He sighed, lowered his hand, and muttered, "Just, don't tell your mom I came in here, okay?" And then, without waiting for a response, he turned and walked out. I sat there for a long time after he left, my mind racing. What was in that envelope? Why was he being so secretive? And why did I suddenly feel like I was caught in the middle of something I didn't even understand? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound, every creak in the floorboards had me on edge. I kept thinking about my mom. Did she know something? Or was she being kept in the dark just like me? And the biggest question of all, what was really going on behind our closed doors? The next morning, everything felt off. My stepfather acted like nothing had happened the night before. He was in the kitchen, sipping his coffee, scrolling through his phone like it was just another normal day. My mom was rushing around, gathering her things for work, asking me if I had breakfast. I kept stealing glances at him, waiting for some kind of signal or explanation. But he avoided eye contact like I didn't exist. The envelope, whatever was inside it, was nowhere to be seen. All day, I couldn't focus. At school, my mind kept circling back to that moment in my room, trying to piece together what it meant. What was I not supposed to know? What could he be hiding from my mom, from both of us? I thought maybe I was overthinking. Maybe it was just bills or something unrelated. But no. Deep down, I knew better. There was something more going on, something no one wanted to say out loud. A few days later, I started noticing new patterns. My mom's phone would ring and she'd step outside to answer it. She seemed more distracted, more tired. When I asked her if everything was okay, she gave me that same line, "just tired." But now, I wasn't buying it. I also started hearing arguments late at night. Quiet but tense. Voices down the hallway, behind closed doors. I pressed my ear to the wall more than once, trying to catch even a piece of the truth. One afternoon, I got home earlier than usual. As I walked up the stairs, I heard something coming from my parents' bedroom. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard my mom's voice, shaky, confused, and his, firm and defensive. She was saying things like, "You promised me," and "How long has this been going on?" My heart dropped. My first thought was, cheating. Infidelity. The word hit me like a truck. I waited for the door to open, for someone to storm out, but it stayed shut. I backed away, quietly, before they could know I heard anything. Later that night, my mom was completely silent. She barely looked at either of us during dinner. And my stepfather, he was doing everything in his power to act like nothing had changed. The worst part? I still didn't know what was in that envelope. But I was starting to think it was connected to everything, the lies, the silence, maybe even an affair. I didn't know who to trust anymore. All I knew was something was being hidden from me, and it was only a matter of time before it all came crashing down. A few days passed, but the feeling in the house only got heavier. My mom barely spoke unless she had to, and my stepfather kept putting on that fake calm like everything was fine. But I could see it in their faces, something big was happening underneath the surface. I knew I was just on the edge of the truth, but every time I got close, it slipped away like smoke. And that envelope, it still haunted me. I didn't know what was inside, but I knew it was part of this whole mess. I just didn't know how. Late one night, I heard the front door open. It was past midnight. I peeked through my window and saw my stepfather walking quickly toward his car, clutching something under his jacket. I didn't think, I grabbed my hoodie and followed, keeping my distance, heart racing. He drove out of the neighborhood, and I stayed back just enough not to be seen. He pulled into a parking lot near an old gas station, where a woman was already waiting in a dark-colored car. I couldn't see her face, but I could see their body language. Familiar. Way too familiar. They talked fast, exchanged something, and then he hugged her. Not the kind of hug you'd give a friend. It was something else. My stomach twisted. Was this the proof? Was this the affair my mom was starting to suspect? The questions were piling up, but now they were crashing down on me, one after the other. Who was she? Was this going on for months, years? Did my mom already know and just pretend not to? And where did I fit into all of it? The next day, I finally built up the nerve to go into their room while no one was home. I knew I had to find that envelope. Whatever secrets it held might explain everything. I searched everywhere, drawers, closets, even behind books. And then I found it. Hidden under some old paperwork. The same thick envelope. My hands were shaking as I held it. I knew opening it would change everything. But I also knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I stood there frozen, envelope in hand, pulse pounding in my ears. Every part of me was screaming not to open it, but I did. I slid my finger under the seal and carefully pulled out the contents. Some of the messages hinted at meeting in secret, while others talked about things I knew for a fact my mom would never say or do. My stepfather had believed it though. He had been replying like it was really her. That explained the arguments. The late night calls. The look on my mom's face. She hadn't caught him cheating, he'd thought she was the one betraying him. Suddenly, everything flipped. He hadn't been hiding an affair. He was being manipulated into believing one existed. But by who? And why? Just then, I heard the front door open. My heart stopped. I shoved the papers back into the envelope and slid it under the bed. Footsteps were coming down the hallway. I couldn't tell if it was my mom or my stepfather, but either way, I wasn't ready. I needed answers, but now it felt like the truth was more dangerous than I ever expected. What started as a story about infidelity was turning into something else entirely, and I was right in the middle of it. It was my mom. She walked into the room, her eyes instantly locking onto mine. I froze, the envelope still slightly sticking out from under the bed. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in days. But instead of being angry, her expression softened, almost like she knew what I'd found. She sat beside me quietly and said, "You read it, didn't you?" I nodded slowly, not knowing what to say. Then, after a long pause, she whispered, "I didn't want you to get dragged into this." She explained everything. Someone had been impersonating her for months, sending messages to my stepfather, planting ideas in his head, twisting their marriage apart. At first, he thought she was cheating. Then he started pulling away. But when she confronted him with proof, they realized the emails had been sent from an address that mimicked hers, just off by one letter. Someone close to us had set the whole thing up. Someone with access to personal information. That's when my mom dropped the final bombshell. "It was your aunt," she said. "My own sister." I couldn't believe it. My aunt had always seemed harmless, even kind. But apparently, jealousy had been building for years. She blamed my mom for everything, her failed marriage, her broken family, her loneliness. She'd created the fake account, sent the messages, and even met with my stepfather pretending to be a friend helping him cope. She almost succeeded in destroying their marriage. The twist? My mom had known for a few weeks. But she didn't tell me because she was scared it would change the way I saw our whole family. And it did. Everything I thought I knew about trust, family, and love had flipped in an instant. And yet, somehow, we were still standing. After everything came out, things didn't magically go back to normal, but they got clearer. My mom confronted my aunt, and the fallout was just as intense as you'd expect. There were screaming matches, tears, accusations flying both ways. My aunt didn't even deny it at first, she just said she was tired of being in the background. It was sad, honestly. She'd let years of resentment turn into something twisted and cruel. My stepfather apologized. To my mom. To me. He admitted he should have come to her sooner, should have asked questions instead of assuming the worst. Their relationship had been shaken, but they were trying. Therapy, late-night talks, and slowly rebuilding what was almost destroyed. I could tell it wouldn't be easy, but they were finally being honest, for the first time in a long time. As for me, I saw the people in my life differently. I used to think families were just supposed to work, like some kind of automatic thing. But now I know it takes work, trust, and open eyes. Sometimes, the people you think are closest to you are the ones capable of doing the most damage. That's not easy to accept, but it's real. I never got the old version of our family back. But maybe that's okay. What we have now is messy, but honest. And after everything that happened, I'd rather live in an imperfect truth than a perfect lie. If there's anything to take away from this story, it's this: pay attention to what's not being said. Trust your instincts. And don't be afraid to face the truth, even when it hurts. Because sometimes, the truth is the only way forward.